Hey, hi everyone. A very good evening. I see a lot of curiosity going on in the comments already. Yeah, we're really excited for this session about solving your queries. Thank you so much for joining us today in this wonderful evening. And New Year is coming forward, and we just wrapped up Christmas. I wish all of you very Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for hopping onto this call. And we're really excited to see a lot of questions already floated across to us. And we will be answering to each one of them. We'll pick up those questions and we'll be starting to answer all of your queries at the end of the session itself. We'll be walking you throughout the agenda. We'll be also joined by one of our key speakers. So today, what are we here for? We are here for the AMA session, which is Ask Me Anything session, wherein we'll be answering to all of your queries that you may have regarding the Hack-AI-Thon 2024. Now that the idea submission phase is going on, you must be having a lot of questions, right? So I'll just walk you through with a little overview of the hackathon here. So Hack-AI-Thon is an initiative by SBI Life and which is powered by Hack to Skill, and we're looking for really groundbreaking solutions to be solved into the industry of banking. And there are multiple challenges to be hosted, for which we have also invited our guest speaker for the day, who's going to walk us through those problem statements. What could be the ideal solutions for them, and how to make the right submissions, where all you can find the details for you to submit those ideas. How can you make an efficient submissions and things like that. We're going to cover everything in today's call itself. So make sure, if your friends, folks, your teammates have not joined in yet, nudge them, ask them to hop onto this call and learn more about what is to be done, right? Because now there are very few days left in terms of the submissions as well. We'll quickly walk through that too. But this overall initiative is presented by SBI Life itself, and this is the AMA session. We have already closed onto the first phase of the hackathon, the Hack-AI-Thon, which is the registration phase. So registration has already ended, and team formations have been closed. A lot of teams have been built already. A lot of submissions have been already made, and we're really excited to see the passion and the amount of innovation that you guys are putting together on the table for us to actually look forward during the evaluation phases and during the coming forward grand finales. So that is there, but regardless of that, we are currently sitting on the idea submission timelines. So what are we doing? We've already done with the registration phase. You've registered yourself successfully. You've invited people. You've formed teams, and everything is done. What is to be done now is submit a great idea, right? So more innovative idea it is, higher the chances will be for you to get shortlisted into the next phase of the hackathon, which is the prototype development, final submissions, right? So initial submissions, the idea is once it has a deadline till 2nd of Jan. So make sure you do the right thing, you make the right submissions. By 16th of Jan, we will have the list of shortlisted people with us. So the shortlisted teams will then move forward in the prototype development round, when it lasts from 16th to 2nd of Feb. 2nd of Feb being the final data submission of prototypes, wherein you'll build on top of your ideas in terms of coding, in terms of building websites, or whatever you have already planned through your idea submissions, right? So that is due on 2nd of Feb, and possibly from there onwards, will not take much of the time. By 18th, we will announce the finalists for the SBI Life Hackathon 2024 and invite them for the grand finale, which will take place on 8th March. I hope the timeline is pretty clear, right? It's very broad. It's not that broad as well, but very pretty clear and simple enough to for you to understand. I can see a lot of questions already coming in. I request all of you, while we walk through the overall session itself, make sure you're putting up the right questions for us, right? So if you have any, pinch of doubt at any given point of time, put it across in the comment section. We'll be more than happy to answer. Maybe that question is from the masses and you are the one who's actually asking it out and getting it resolved for everybody. So do not keep a single doubt in your head, or be very open, ask questions. We are here to answer and take it through today. So without any further ado, I will not take much of the time. I'd like to just invite Rohan onto the screen. Hi Rohan, thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
us.
Hello, everyone. It's actually really great for me to be here. I always love this specific part of the hackathon journey, right? Because it's all a lot of time has already gone on. So a lot of the participants are already, way into maybe building their ideas or solutions, right? Wherein some people are still trying to figure out what the best way forward could be. So yeah, so before we actually move on to explaining what the problem statements are about and maybe what can be done in those problem statements, or how, if you have already been working on some existing areas within those problem statements, how maybe you could enhance them or make a more well-rounded solution, what I'd like to basically brief you is how first and foremost you can make a successful submission on the platform, right? Because that is one place we don't want you to miss out on. If you have a great idea, a good team, and this is where you end up missing out because you are not able to figure out how to make a good submission, or how to actually make a submission on the platform itself within a timely manner, right? That would be the biggest loss, because we might end up, you as a participant might end up losing, a chance to maybe win a prize. SBI might end up, our SBI Life might end up losing on a good solution, and we might also end up losing on a very innovative, team that we could have potentially identified through this whole process, right? Because it's very important for everyone who's involved in this hackathon to be, you know up to date and be able to do whatever they are, asked to do. So for participants, the most primary thing for them is for them to be able to submit everything smoothly. So yeah, I'll just quickly demo that, right? So when you come on the hack to skill page and you're logged in, right? So you'll see that I'm logged in. All you need to do is go to your innovator dashboard, right? And once you're on your innovator dashboard, you'll see list of all the hackathons on hack to skill for which you have registered. So the SBI hackathon is called Hack-AI-Thon 2024. So you can click on the dashboard button, right? And you'll be taken to this place called the roadmap. Now within roadmap, there is this tab called submissions, and inside of that, not only you will find, the submission questions, you'll also find a pitch deck as well. So all you need to do is download this pitch deck. Like, I can download this pitch deck and you'll see that it starts getting downloaded, right? So I've downloaded this pitch deck. Now I will update this pitch deck with my own ideas. You'll see it already contains a lot of, data already. So brief about the idea, then, so all of the content that is required in the pitch deck has already been auto populated. All you need to do as a participant is provide answers to these questions in a concise and clear way, maybe supplementing it with some diagrams, right? And then you need to just select the challenge for which you are submitting this PPT, and answer a few questions like, what is your solution about, what problem you're trying to solve, what is the tech stack that you're using, and finally upload that PDF PPT by converting it into a PDF first and foremost, and then uploading it here. And you can then view as well, so what the PDF that you uploaded here is. So I have uploaded an example PDF, so it's empty. So you can check as well, because a lot of the times we get queries saying, has my submission been recorded or not? And anytime you make a submission, right? So whenever I click on submit, I'll get this toast, and I'll also get an email on my registered account saying that the submission was done or updated. So using these two things, you'd be able to always keep a check that if someone from your team also changes the submission or updates the submission, everyone in the team will get an email saying that submission has been updated, right? So it's a very easy step. I'll just summarize it here. You go to the innovator dashboard, you'll see the list of all the hackathons present. So just click on the dashboard for the hackathon, particular hackathon for which you want to make submission. And from here, You need to go to the submissions tab, and that's it. You can just make the submission here, right? So that's pretty much it. It's a very simple and straightforward process. And since this session is going live, right? So there'll be a recording for the same as well. So that will also, so any recording that is there will be provided to you in the resources section as well. So when you are in the resources section, so you'll see that the problem statement session, introductory session, idea submission template, everything is here as well. So this whole session will also be uploaded here. So if you want to re-reference it or re-watch it or reshare it with someone in your team or something like that, you'll be able to find it here in resources. So everything that you need or require is in one place. And if in case you end up getting confused along the way, you always have the resources section to help you out, because everything happening throughout the hackathon journey will be documented here. So there's no need for you to worry at any point. Yeah. So that's pretty much it from the aspect of how to do submission, how to navigate the platform, and in case you're stuck, how to actually solve that issue as well, right? I think we can move on to the next part of the session now, which is the problem statements, right? So these, while working with SBI, right, SBI has identified these three problem statements, not specific to their organization itself, right? Because they are, a leading, brand within the actuarial space, within the, life insurance, the insurance space as well. So these are some domain specific and not even SBI specific problem statements that have been identified by these guys, right? So the very, and we'll be walking through each problem statement step by step. So the very first problem statement is enhancing cybersecurity with targeted vulnerability prevention, right? So yeah, for this particular thing, right, you need to understand what is actually meant by delivering enhancing cybersecurity, and what exactly you can or cannot do as a user, right? So here, if you go on the website, right, you'll see that this problem statement has a very small and brief explainer, right, that you need to take care of OWASP and SANS vulnerabilities. So these are very big and tall terms, but I will break it down to you very easily, right? So OWASP is a foundation, right? It is an open source foundation which basically acts as a bible, for any cybersecurity enthusiast. So on their website, they have a list of different types of threats that a website might go through. Like for example, the most popular ones are SQL injection, cross-site scripting, those kind of a things, right? So what happens is that OWASP has this catalog, and they have now created a list as well, like the top 10 most common vulnerabilities that every website should fix. Then top 25, top 50, those kind of things. And SANS is also a globally renowned, cybersecurity pillar, a pillar in a globally renowned pillar in the field of cybersecurity. They have a lot of certifications and training programs as well, and they also have a similar, sort of a list of vulnerabilities that need to be taken care of when building a product or a website. So for tackling this particular problem, you don't need to become, a pen tester or a cybersecurity analyst, anything like that, right? You just need to go to OWASP or SANS, right, and see what these top 10, top 20 problems are that they are facing. Maybe it can be as simple as that you build a VS Code extension that ensures that uh, parameterized queries are being used in SQL, right? So anytime a parameterized query is not being written in SQL, the chances of SQL injection increase, right? So you created something which reduces or mitigates the chances of. I'm just giving an example here. I'm not saying this will work as a solution, right? I'm just giving an example. So this might work as a solution, right? So you did not do actually anything related to hacking something or finding out a vulnerability in existing SBI framework, but you created a tool that any developer within SBI or outside of SBI in general would use. Through your tool, they would always end up writing the code which is very safe, and the probability of SQL injection happening on that code is very, very less. So that is what needs to be handled and tackled when it comes to this particular problem statement. Some other things that you can do is, for those of you who are more more into the technicalities, right? You can try and, like I mentioned about SQL injection, right? You can also look into other ways to detect the real time top 10 vulnerabilities within OWASP. Then there are multiple steps in which you can, enhance cybersecurity. So one place is while the user is coding, the programmer is coding itself, you are trying to fix the issue. But maybe, let's say the I'm the programmer, I've done programming. Now there is this thing called continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines, CI/CD pipelines. So maybe you can, and there are many tools which are used during these CI/CD pipelines as well, right? Like Jenkins and those kind of a thing, to automatically integrate code, run system test cases, run unit test cases, all those sorts of things. So during those time, also you can create maybe a tool or a software which, while integrating a code, run certain checks, some certain security checks, certain good practice checks, right? Which take care of the OWASP 10 vulnerabilities. And if certain problems are found, it does not let that code merge into the main branch or into the production server, right? So this can, you can also create a pre-production checking tool. You can create a VS code extension. You can create a browser extension as well, right? And so basically, this is the primary goal. Now the secondary goal is, once you have identified one vulnerability that you can take care of, you have to identify as many as you can. So start with one, and once your solution and software is able to tackle that one vulnerability very well, then pick another one, then pick another one. As many vulnerabilities as your solution can take care of, the better it is for this particular problem statement, right? So this is very straightforward. No need to be a security analyst or a security expert. This problem statement can be very intimidating for a lot of people, because they think, how will we stop someone from hacking, those kind of things. It's, everything's already there on the internet. You just need to be able to create a tool out of that, right? Moving on to the second problem statement. The second problem statement is very, very broad, in the sense that it says that we have to enhance customer experience and retention through AI driven personalization, and improve the propensity of purchase. So there are a lot of things happening, right? So let's pick it up, bit by bit, right? So what are the goals, right? First is that, you know these insurance companies and many big companies, right, like Amazon, these e-commerce companies as well, they have this thing called user personas, right? So let's say, I am particularly a person who, if and when I buy maybe pulses and everything, I also buy dairy products as well. So I fall into a particular user persona which is associated with me buying pulses and other thing with dairy. So they will recommend me dairy things as well. So a lot of the times these user personas are first hard coded, and then an AI or ML engine is trained over them to, give AI based recommendations, ML generated, machine learning generated recommendations. But these user personas, more often than not, for very, very large companies as well, are, largely hard coded. So in terms of, when it comes to talking about insurances, right, these things can vary a lot, right? These things can vary from things like, what kind of, let's say, if I'm talking about insurance, right, what is my financial condition, what is my family like, based on that I'll fall into one particular user persona. But we all know that not one person stays the same throughout their, purchase cycle. So my purchasing habits, my buying habits can change. So the very first thing that we can tackle is that we can create a way that can track and personalize the understanding of customer behavior. No two customers are same. Even if I say that you and I are being put, let's say I pick one person, like Shakti was speaking, right? So if I say that Shakti and I have the same user persona, but still end of the day, our whole user behavior and thought process is not the same. So even classifying the two of us just by a single user persona, we are losing out on a lot of huge business opportunities there. So what we need to do is come up with highly personalized, hyper focused, user insights, insights that are very, very specific to me, insights that are very, very specific to some other customer as well. So that is the first part of this problem statement that we need to understand. Next is, once we have understood what the user behavior it is, so either you can create a product which analyzes very deeply these user insights, or you can create a shallow user analysis product, but you optimize it for upselling them, right? So what it means by upselling is that once you know that someone has bought a car insurance, right? You can maybe ask them, upsell them an anti-theft insurance as well, right? Because they have already bought car insurance, and car insurance maybe does not cover theft related things, right? So you upsell them an anti-theft insurance as well. So how will you identify those kind of a things based on that customer's personal habits? If I'm personally a big spender and I like to spend on things, I'm fine spending 2,000, 3,000 rupees more as well if I can get better quality out of things. Based on that, you can create more a system which can upsell to customers as well. And the third and the most important thing is persistency and retention. So upselling is done when a customer is already buying something, right? And then you are trying to sell them something better or more valuable. But what if a customer is just looking, right? Many times it happens, right, that when we visit an app like Zomato, Swiggy, we start getting notifications, right, that you left something in your cart, or something like that, right? So how we can convert interest of a customer into a successful purchase, and maybe also track their behavior. So a lot of the times what happens is, especially with uh, insurance related domain, people default on their payments. So if we have the behavioral pattern of certain users, we know they are more prone to default, we can maybe switch them to a certain other type of policy or a premium plan in which they will not default as likely, and it will still maybe not be as good as what they wanted, but still serve the purpose of what they wanted to do, right? So it is finding the balance between that. So it's I you this problem statement is open for everything. You can go deep into data analysis, you can try to create something which can be used to upsell, or you can try to gather new customers or retain the existing ones in a meaningful way. Because the other painful thing for any business is to see a customer drop rate. So as important as it is for us to acquire new customers, it is equally important for us to retain the existing customers within our ecosystem as well. So this is also, there are many ways to think about it, and you don't have to build a system that does everything at once. If you can, that is very great, right? But that is not the goal here. You can take things step by step, right? And that will be more than enough. So I've just broken this problem down because it was very generic into certain sub problems. So there's a lot you can do, right? Dynamic upselling strategies, customer retention prediction, how you can engage, behavior based engagement, right? Then a lot of the times sales agents have their CRM tools. So on those CRM tools, if they are able to see already what kind of customer they are going to talk to, and they have talking points with them already handy, so for them to make a sales pitch, it will be much easier and conversions can be very higher. So there are multiple ways through which you can do it, right? And I've just broken down this problem statement into two or three sub points so that it does not seem overwhelming and very huge at a glance, right? And finally, moving on to the third problem statement, the one I find the most interesting one, right, is AI driven fraud detection, right? So this particular problem statement, right, is, I can truly say, for left open to your creativity, right? Because you will see that in this problem statement it's been mentioned, right, that the industry in general struggles with detecting a lot of different types of frauds, right? Identity theft, claims, illegible claims, right? Claim inflation. And a lot of the times now, because the number of claims are very high, and the tech, the the general population is also getting very acquainted with tech, and general population now also has very easy access to AI, right? So all of this combined, the sophistication in these fraudulent claims is also increasing, right? So one thing is that they have requested is that if you can identify patterns of fraud within the existing data itself, or you can identify how forgery can be caught, like forged documents are caught, those kind of a things, that is very helpful, right? That anyhow is there. If you can do network analysis, those kind of a things, right? Network analysis, fraud detection, pattern identification, then you can, if you can maybe perform network analysis, those kind of things, or you can estimate the severity of a claim. A lot of the times that is also, done disingenuously. Or maybe speech analysis you can do for a customer, right, to see what kind of a speech they are talking in. Without, no one parameter should be the final say. Someone can very easily, fake the speech, but other parameters should be able to balance that out. But the most interesting part about this problem statement that I find is that they say that it is not limited to you finding, frauds within the claims, finding frauds within forging of documents, or finding frauds within network analysis, or patterns behind, wrongful claims. There is a line within this problem statement that says that you are free to come up with ways to identify any new fraudulent things that might be happening that we have not even thought of, right? So I understand that there can be multiple types of solutions, right? And I believe for this particular problem statement some data set has been provided as well. But this problem state that particular data set is for very specific use cases. You can identify maybe the user patterns, those kind of things, right? But I just want to let you know that you don't have to be restricted to a particular type of solution within this. Any type of fraud that you can think of, be it document forging, right, be it identity theft, how identity theft can be caught, how identity theft can happen in first place within the system, then anomaly detection, maybe that can be done through the data. But any new way of fraud maybe that you have come across, you have heard of within your circle, right, that this sort of a thing happened maybe to your loved one or your relative or someone that you can come up with a solution for that as well. That will be an equally valid submission to have, because this particular problem statement is not specific to the type of data set that has been provided. The data set has been provided as means of guiding you on how to create and enhance the existing system that exists. But with frauds we never know what is over the horizon, what new things criminals are thinking of, potential criminals are thinking of. So the you know the gate is open for everything, right? We don't know what might happen, what might not. So if you're able to come up with something new completely out of the box, I think that will be appreciated equally, compared to enhancing and making the existing systems more robust. So this I believe to be the most creative problem statement out of the all, because here you are free to let your imagination run wild, and go a little farther away from the brief provided as well. Whereas the other two, it is very cut and dry as to what needs to be done and what is expected. And so with this, I'd just like to conclude by saying that these three problem statements, offer a very wide variety of things that can be done. And there is no need to be overwhelmed by the scale of solution that you need to implement, because we are only talking about the idea submission round here. Obviously you need to keep in mind the feasibility of the solution you are proposing, because the next is prototype development round, and if you want to go far into the competition, you can't be making claims that you won't be able to deliver on. But at the same time, even if now at this point you are in a state where you think might not be able to build my idea in 7 days, but will be able to build it in 20 days. So I just want to let you know that if you have a solid idea, you saw the timeline, right, that the shortlist announcement is on 16th January. So you have 20 days, 25 days. By the time prototype submission round starts, you'll roughly have a month. So it's still not too late to start thinking, brainstorming, or making your existing ideas even more better, or enhancing them, so that you're able to make a very very strong impression within the prototype submission round, right? So keeping these things in mind, I just want to wish everyone who's joined best of luck, and hope to hope to see you all in the prototype development round as well, right?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rohan. That was really insightful. I see a lot of people really curious now to ask more questions related to the problem statements. However, we also have got a lot of questions for you already, sent across by the participants to us, and we'll also be pushing those to you at a little, like in a few minutes from now. We just got to cover a little other details. So, like Rohan rightly mentioned, this is the idea submission phase as of now. Making the right ideas will be an opportunity for you to move forward from this idea phase to the product development phase. And what is there? I can see a few questions were there. Where is the grand finale happening? What is going to happen on the grand finale? So people getting shortlisted. When I say people, it's the teams who are getting shortlisted for the grand finale will be invited to Mumbai for making the pitches happen and everything, taking that on that day itself, right? So what you need to do is you need to submit your ideas, make it an innovative one, so that you get shortlisted for the prototyping round, and from there onwards, keep improvising on your ideas with innovation. Start building, like Rohan rightly mentioned. So once you submitted and the idea submission phase has got over, so start working on your prototypes. That's how you'll get more time in order to build more, right? Showcase more and be on a stronger side than your other competition into the hackathon. So just being in front in the race is something that you need to pursue. So idea submissions will end on 2nd of Jan, and from there onwards, will be actually evaluating your ideas and making an announcement by 16th. On the 16th, a lot of teams will be moving forward into the prototyping round, wherein you're actually building on top of your ideas. So maybe websites, maybe web apps, maybe any kind of applications, mobile apps, Android apps, iOS apps, any kind of applications, or whatever is the requirement of your solution, right? So that is what you have to build in the prototyping phase. But once you get shortlisted out of the prototyping phase, which will also be a second round of evaluation, your team will be invited for the grand finale, and that is happening in Mumbai. So not a smaller bite, but make sure you do the right submissions today itself. Right, there are a lot of teams participating. There's a lot of noise already. I can see in the communities happening. So it's a great chance for you to explore, and brainstorm with your team members. Unfortunately, I am just trying to answer a couple of questions as well, Rohan. From the comments, I see comments for registration. I see comments for adding extra members, but unfortunately, that cannot happen now because the registrations have already closed. So make sure whatever team you've already formed, you're moving ahead with them, and we have those information already blocked at our end. So we'll move forward with those only, right? Yeah. So not just Mumbai is exciting, right? And it is also about the prize pool that we hold here. So there will be three category of awards that will be presenting under the SBI Life Hack-AI-Thon 2024. So we'll have the winners who will be given out whooping cash prize of 1.5 lakh rupees. Then followed by the first runner-ups for 1 lakh and the second runner-ups for 75,000, right? That's a huge amount, right? If you just club that, if you look at the aspect, the exposure that you're getting, and along with that, you're backing up with cash prices, right? So make sure you're doing the right thing at the right place, right? And you're asking the right questions. So I see questions about the evaluation criteria as well. So we've also discussed this during the introductory session, but just for your reference, it is there in the introductory session video. If you can just explore the resource section, Rohan just showed us in the initial of his part. So here are the evaluation criteria, which comprises of ideation, novelty and impact, feasibility, market readiness, are the initial ones which your ideas will be actually looked into. All right, then we are at the important piece of it now, for which we all have gathered here together. So if you have any questions, feel free to keep dropping those into the comment box, and we'll start picking up those questions right there. But just to begin with, Rohan, if you're ready, sorry, Rohan.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Great, great, great. So I saw a great, interesting question, right? Initially asked. Let me just pull that up for you first. So we answered Asya for your judging criteria question. Deepak, we did that for you as well. The finale will be happening in Mumbai. Okay. So Deepak has an interesting question for us. I'll just read that out for you. From the judges and mentors' perspective, how can we present a solution through a compelling story that engages both technical and non-technical audiences? I think
Okay,
that
yeah, that
that's great that you can cover today, Rohan.
yeah, yeah. So basically, right, I always have a recipe for breaking down any, pitch or any idea or anything that I'm, sharing. So the best possible way, right, is this is completely my opinion, right? But I have had the most success, following this within my career as well. It's that humans mostly are able to relate very well with a story or a narrative if it's explained in that way, right? So if you're able to explain, right, what is the problem exactly, so we know that what the problem statement is, right? Every judge and jury knows what the problem statement is, but what the effect is being caused by that problem statement, maybe you can highlight one or two specific effects that are being caused by the problem statement, right, which your solution solves in the best possible way. So I'll just give an example, right? If I need to pitch maybe quick commerce, right, like Blinkit and Zomato, right, they offer a lot of things, right? But the biggest and the most you know their most valuable point to me, if I wanted to make it from ground up, is imagine that you're traveling and you're in a city like Ajmer in cold winters, right? And you forgot to get a blanket, you open your bag and you check and you see you forgot to get a blanket. Now through Blinkit or Instamart, you're able to get that within 10 minutes at any place in Ajmer, irrespective of the fact whether you know someone there or you don't. It does not matter whether the store is opened or not. Like, you understand, we create identified a very small problem within quick commerce and we are able to create, sense of relatability out of it. So you have to break down the problem in such a way that the person in front understands and explain how your solution actually fixes the problem, because many times you are explaining a solution to a problem and you know how these two are related, but the person in front is not able to understand how those two are actually related, and that sometimes creates a gap in understanding and reduces the amount of empathy the person in front might have for what you're just trying to solve. The more empathy you can gain from the person for your solution, the more likely it is that they'll end up scoring it better, and they'll only empathize with your solution if they empathize with the problem in the first place, right? So that is the thing that you need to go for. Build a narrative, try to identify what is the best problem that is being solved by your idea, and build on top of that.
Great. Thanks for adding your comments there, Rohan. We'll just quickly move forward with each of those questions, and maybe I picked up a quick one for you. So, for problem statement number three, can we allow to integrate? Are we allowed to integrate IoT or blockchain with AI as a solution?
Yeah, I'm just checking, right? So there is no thing. So participants are free to choose tools of their choice. However, the tools used should not have any existing known or published vulnerabilities, right? That is the only caveat I'm seeing written, right? So I don't think you are being bound by any aspect of using, a technology or not. You can go ahead and use it. It's just that it should preferably be something which is uh, well documented, easily available. You should not end up using some niche packages or something like that which can have its own security. Like, SBI should not have to do an audit of the packages that you are using before your solution can be used. So it is better to use the more reputed things that are available in the market, right? And because we are trying to build something which is very sensitive to the data, which around it is very sensitive. So if you end up building a software that uses a lot of third party things, so even before SBI can integrate into their systems, they will first need to verify whether those third party things are safe to use or not. So we need to be careful in that aspect to increase our chances, of making the solution more adoptable by SBI folks themselves. That is the only thing to keep in mind.
Right. Thanks for adding that up. Right there, we've got another question from Deepak. Interesting one. He's asking, should the prototype be fully functional or a core feature demo? Focus on technical depth or simplicity for the judges.
Right. So this is more so for the prototype round. So when we do prototype round, actually we have sessions related to how to pitch a prototype as well. So for that, I always believe that it's 20-80%, because if you have already reached in the prototype round, right, the judges are more interested to see whether you can deliver on the promises that you have made so far, or the mentors are more interested to see that, right? So at that time I believe that actions speak louder than words. So if you can actually show what you have built while explaining everything, now it's up to you whether you want to go into the technical jargons or not, whether you want to go to, or if you want to just explain the features, right? Like if I'm explaining to you chat gpt, I can show you, like I upload a video in chat gpt and ask it to analyze that video. Now that is impressive in itself. But if I know that the jury and mentor are from a very technical background, you'll get to know what kind of a background the jury and mentor. Knowing the jury and mentor is equally important. If the jury and mentor are industry veterans who have a background in AI, ML, let's say, then they might be interested in knowing certain things. So in that case, you can sprinkle in those details as well to let them know that you have gone through that research. But at the end of the day, when you're actually pitching a prototype, you have 5 to 7 minutes. So you need to make those 5 to 7 minutes count. So I believe that leading first with showing your demonstration is the best way to go, and everything else you need to adjust based on the type of crowd or the type of panel you are catering to within that hackathon.
Great. Thank you so much for adding that up. Adding to that question itself, Madhuri has a question for us. Is could you tell us what exactly we should be building, like software, like and just to add up quick things there. Like I mentioned, Madhuri, it completely depends upon what you're trying to build, right? And what is that one solution which will actually pull in the right way of communicating it to the audience, right? To the judges, like to gain the empathy, right? So what is solving your problem is what should be ideally you should be looking forward to. Maybe you can add that up, Rohan.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like you are only bound by your imagination. You can make a Chrome extension, VS Code extension, a chat bot, an app, a mobile app, a desktop app, anything under the sun which can run on a computer, you can make it. Maybe it cannot run on a computer, but it detects forgery, maybe, and it's a piece of hardware. You can make that as well, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Madhuri, for putting that up. I can see a lot of questions about the grand finale now. The travel reimbursements, all of the communications will be rolled out to each one of you if you get selected for the grand finale. And we primarily will be communicating only to the teams who will be shortlisted to the grand finale itself. So everything will be taken care with a lot of days in hand. So you need not have to worry on the bookings or maybe the accommodations or any of those pieces as of now. Your primary focus should be on the idea submissions, which is due on second itself. So make sure you do that first, move through the journey of this great hackathon that we are on this journey on. And yeah, so every other communications, leave it up to us. We'll be communicating very soon to all the teams who are eligible for it, right? I'll pull up one quick question from the ones that we had already received, right? So it is, is it absolutely requirement to rely on the traditional coding and programming techniques to build robust, fully functional solutions, or can we create solutions using no code or AI tools as well? Is that something that we're looking forward to?
So yeah, it again completely depends on the type of no-code platform that you're going to use. Like if you're doing some CRM integration or something like that, and you have happen to have some access to a proprietary tool, right? Like I'm not aware of some very good end-to-end tools, like outside of maybe the obvious ones like Salesforce, MuleSoft, or Odoo, those kind of things. But I'm not sure how they can be directly helped. If you've come across certain no-code platforms that can, you know, help you make a solution which actually solves any of the three problem statements in any capacity, you're more than welcome to do that. That should not be an issue. It's yeah, and there's one more thing that just with this I'd like to clear is that there's no burden on you as a participant to use proprietary things, paid things. When I mentioned and when I said right that we need to use things which come with certain reliability, I understand a lot of the times reliability comes with a price, and it's often the price is often X amount of dollars per API call or something like that. Right? So I'm not asking you to spend money out of your own pocket to construct a solution. What I want you to do is that instead of using some niche third party node.js package or some unreliable repository made by someone 8 years ago that is not even maintained now, use things which are latest, maintained, have proper documentation. You can clearly see there's a thriving community around it, like React. If you're using React, if you're using Node, if you're using Docker, if you're using Hadoop, right, there is a thriving community and security or care is being taken for the security maintenance and upkeep for these things as well, right? So that's never in the question. You can do all of those things. But now I'm using some old C++ repository that used to process images, but it is 10 years old and no one has updated that code. Then am I going to take responsibility for its security, whether that code is secure or not? If I am willing to do that, then I should use it. But if I'm not willing to do that and it ends up there is some memory or buffer overflow issue within that library, then that can cause issues as well down the line. So that's where I'm trying to say that you should be vigilant and careful as to what you end up using, because the data that this software will end up getting used on is very crucial and critical, right?
Yeah, thanks, Rohan, for adding that up. I've got I see a lot of questions now getting flooded. So let me pull that up real quick. Maybe you can scratch the surface for this one. So to make solutions align with the current pipeline of SBI Life, so can we get some insights about the pipeline for current fraud detection tools used, or is it completely done offline, or how is it? Yeah,
Okay.
will you be able to throw
So
some?
I've actually had the privilege of being part of discussions where the folks over at SBI were coming up with these problem statements by discussing it with their stakeholders. Though I am by no means an expert in this field, right? But what I know is that they are not. So what usually happens within there are these professionals called actuaries, right? And these people are masters of statistics, right? They are usually people who know statistics, and for them it's their bread and butter, right? And they can code as well, they can write scripts as well. So they have a dedicated team of actuaries, a dedicated team of data analysts who work together. So it's not like that the whole system is offline. So with this hackathon, right, that's why when they're saying fraud detection to prevent insurance, right, you might end up coming, with an idea or a pattern that is already available, right, or already being taken care of. But the way you have done it, it's just more easier and less cumbersome. We Because it's very tough for me because it's confidential data on their part, right? How certain fraud detection, because they cannot reveal how they detect fraud, otherwise they won't be able to detect it anymore. People will start circumventing it, right? So it is confidential. A lot of the data is confidential on their part, but that should not deter or stop you, right? That you might end up coming with something that they're already doing. Have the confidence that you are coming up with a way of doing it in an automated and easier way, because it could very well end up being the case where they are doing it, but there's a lot of manual labor involved, a lot of people involved, and you are just making that thing simpler for that particular set of people, right? Because what I do know for a fact is that there are many engineers, security analysts, actuaries, statisticians, data analysts that work together to ensure day in and day out that the integrity of SBI Life as a whole is not compromised, be it through identity theft, false insurance claims, inflated insurance claims, any of those things, forged documents, etc., etc. That's why in this particular problem statement, I've told you, right, that there's a paragraph, right, that participants are encouraged to use as many generic data sets as available, and look beyond the provided data to come up with their own approaches to detect unknown and emerging patterns as well for fraud detection. Because this particular problem statement demands for you to think out of the box as well. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with thinking inside the box and coming up with a solution which makes the existing things more robust, right? So there is no pressure to think out of the box. It's just that thinking out of the box is an option here.
Great. Thanks, Rohan, for adding that up there. We'll pick up a few more questions and then we'll quickly move forward for the closure of it. So, I can see a lot of repetition of this question from Pushkar. Do we only need to submit the front end in the prototype?
It's completely, it's completely relative, Pushkar. It's like if n number of people are participating, right, and maximum 90% of them end up only submitting front end, then that will be enough. But even if there are, the remaining 10% are willing to go above and beyond, like currently we are talking only about idea submission, so we can, I won't go into much detail, but towards the later stages of hackathon it becomes more so about not only what you're capable of, but how much are you willing to put in to outshine others in the competition as well, right? Because end of the day it is a competition, right? So anyone who is willing to go in that extra mile to maybe, connect that front end with Firebase or actually build some backend related, their prototype will always end up looking, better than something that's purely front end. But that does not mean that a purely front end driven solution cannot have its own merits, because sometimes ideas are too complex to, properly build. So you can build very simple functionalities, and for complex one you can build front end and explain how you plan to work on them as well, right? So that is always the option, but I always encourage that build simple functionalities end to end, and then pick up complex ones one by one. And if you're not able to build, then it's fine, you can go with a front end only approach in those cases as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Rohan. I think okay, I see a question about the presentation itself. So the implementation cost, Devang, is only for your prototyping itself, because ideation will not take any, cost in terms of if you're just putting out your thoughts onto your presentation slides. That will not take up any cost for you. But the implementation cost is the ideal cost that you feel like will take occur during the prototyping of your idea itself, is what you need to put across into the presentation itself. Okay, what was the other question? Eclipse has asked a question about the limitation of the presentation PPT. We've already given a lot of slides available into the PPT. Use the template itself is very mandatory. Using the template, following the guides itself. So make sure you submit into the right presentation. If you want to use and extend one, two slides itself, which is okay. We've got a spare additional slide as well into it. You can just make a copy out of it and use it accordingly as per your need. Okay, great. I think we've got just 4 minutes here, but thank you so much, Rohan, for hopping onto this call and picking it up real quick. We got a lot of insights from you on the problem statement, as well as a lot of clearance in terms of what can be the ideal solutions, and how can people be, correct about making it to the grand finale. So that is really helpful, but we will definitely push across any questions that we may have from the participants post this session itself. But thank you so much for picking it up real quick. And yeah, thanks. It's always a pleasure.
Likewise.
Thank you so much, Rohan.